toughest guy. But I think that Crawford and Vergil Ortiz next year, first quarter, will be a super fight.
There were already plans for Vergil Ortiz to fight Crawford after his fight with Serhii Bohacek.
You want to make big fights? Crawford, if Vergil wins, you make Crawford next.
Turki and Oscar De La Hoya decided to make Crawford and Vergil Ortiz fight after he won his hard-earned fight against Serhii Bohacek.
So, Turki, hats off to you. You're doing a great job. Keep on doing what you're doing.
Vergil Ortiz Jr. has been winning all of his fights so far. It wasn't until this fight that we saw his opponent go all the way to the end, leaving Ortiz with a pretty bloody face. But no matter what, Ortiz took on the tough WBC interim junior middleweight champion Serhii Bohacek and won in a thrilling fight that made all of us impressed by Serhii's performance. Now, even if Bohacek made it tough for Ortiz, Ortiz still gave a performance that also impressed Oscar De La Hoya and Turki Alalshik, who were sitting ringside as the fight happened.
A lot of fans say, oh, how come we don't fight this guy or whatever, or well, I'm trying to fight the best, but you see that it's not up to it's not under my control. Like if it was under my control, I would have fought the world champions already at 140. I would have fought him at 147.
No, Crawford, we have a thought about him, but Ortiz, we can support to have rematch like this.
Because of this performance, they both agreed to fight Crawford, but De La Hoya had already thought of this idea before. Oscar De La Hoya, the promoter, has been interested in this fight for a while. He had previously said that if Ortiz won his next two fights, a title match with Crawford would be coming up. Now with Ortiz's win over Bohacek, one part of the puzzle is complete. Next up for Ortiz is a showdown with Tin Chu later this year, another fight that promises fireworks.
You want to fight Terence Crawford right now?
I would love to fight him, man. I think he's like probably the #1 pound-for-pound fighter right now.
Do you think he's out of his peak?
It is expected that Chu will fight IBF champion Bakram Murtazalia for his belt. If Ortiz wins, it could be another stepping stone for him, but everyone is wondering if Chu will take the risk of fighting Ortiz when a fight against Crawford could mean more money. The Chu team might decide not to fight Ortiz in the clash because they think it is too dangerous, especially since Ortiz's title is only the WBC interim belt and Sebastian Fundora holds the full belt.
But now he's in the audience. Who would you like Tin Chu to fight since you want Ortiz to fight Crawford next?
I will not work with Temsin.
Well, what happened?
Fight Hype talks to Oscar De La Hoya about how he knows what's at stake and how hard the fight will be. De La Hoya praised Crawford, calling him possibly the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. De La Hoya acknowledged Crawford's approachable personality and his status as a great boxer who has never lost. However, he also suggested that Crawford's age might start to show as he moves up in weight classes and faces younger, hungrier opponents. Fighters like Ortiz just a few days ago, Crawford made news when he moved up to 154 pounds and dethroned WBA champion Israel Madrimov in a hard-fought 12-round unanimous decision.
Ooh, good shot there. Right uppercut by Kavaliauskas. Left hand again for Kavaliauskas and Ortiz's legs.
Game with you, it takes a moment to kind of wrap your brain around that and make...
Oh, Kavaliauskas comes forward and Bud Crawford was hurt.
The fight that headlined a Riyadh season event at the BMO Stadium in Los Angeles was a show of Crawford's skill and drive, but just like Ortiz had a tough time against Bohacek, it wasn't an easy win for Crawford. Madrimov's style and power brought some difficulties for Crawford, who was coming off a 13-month layoff.
That's gonna be, is it a good fight? Yeah, but I'm supposed to be the one fighting Madrimov. When I heard that news, I was like, that's supposed to be me.
De La Hoya commented on Crawford's performance, saying that he went up a weight class to 154, and he met up with a guy who was really tough. He acknowledged that Crawford didn't look as dominant as he had in previous fights against smaller opponents, but he stressed that it's all part of the learning process as Crawford establishes himself at 154 pounds.
Crawford I love because he's probably the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. His style is fan-friendly. He's a tremendous boxer, undefeated. He went up a weight class and he met up a guy who was really tough. And sometimes you're not going to look as good.
Crawford's victory over Madrimov means he now holds the WBA title at 150 pounds, but the road to becoming the undisputed champion in the junior middleweight division is still long with 3 more belts to win. Crawford's next steps will be crucial, and if one of those steps involves facing Vergil Ortiz Jr., it's going to be a tough task, especially as Crawford inches closer to his 38th birthday. De La Hoya was confident about the challenges that lie ahead for Crawford.
As you did in your previous fights, fighting smaller guys. And it's okay. It's a learning process.
He probably fought the toughest guy. De La Hoya said about Madrimov that he is not the most dangerous guy but the toughest guy looking ahead. De La Hoya and Turki see a great fight between Crawford and Ortiz in the first quarter of next year. He's hopeful that if Ortiz wins his upcoming fight against Tin Chu, the stage will be set for an epic clash with Crawford.
Before, he probably fought the toughest guy. Not the most dangerous guy, but the toughest guy.
This fight De La Hoya thinks could be a turning point for Ortiz. If everything goes according to plan, Ortiz could not only become the king of the 150 pounds division, but also emerge as a new star in the boxing world. Beating Crawford, however, it will be no easy task. Despite being older, Crawford's experience, ring IQ, and adaptability make him a formidable opponent, but Ortiz's youth, power, and relentless pursuit of victory could give him the edge he needs to dethrone the champion.
But I think that Crawford and Vergil Ortiz next year, first quarter, will be a super fight.
And now with Ortiz's win over Bohachuk, the fight is no longer just a chance, it's happening. The confirmation by Turki Alalshik and Oscar De La Hoya has set the wheels in motion. And fans can now look forward to what promises to be an unforgettable fight between 2 of the sport's most exciting fighters. Turki Alalshik made a grand entrance at Saturday night's Vergil Ortiz Jr. vs. Serhiy Bohachuk middleweight bout, catching the attention of everyone with the possibilities he could bring along after the fight. And as Ortiz secured the win, Turki dropped the news during a brief interview on DAZN. He declared that a showdown between him and the newly crowned title holder, Terence Crawford, is definitely confirmed.
That Vergil lost that fight. Robert Garcia knew and Vergil Ortiz dad and Vergil Ortiz knew. But they want to make Vergil Ortiz against Terence Crawford cool. But don't come over here doing that craziness. Yo,
Ortiz, with his undefeated record, had a lot riding on this out against Ukraine's Bohachuk. The WBC interim junior middleweight belt was on the line. But now with Turki's announcement, the stakes were even higher. A win would not just mean a belt for Ortiz, would mean a guaranteed shot at Crawford, one of boxing's most revered champions. It is as this interview was progressing that Oscar De La Hoya joined in on the conversation building. On Turki's statement, De La Hoya expressed his excitement about the prospect of matching Ortiz against Crawford. He went a step further, outlining a plan to create a blockbuster card that would not only feature the Crawford-Ortiz showdown, but also include a lightweight title fight between unbeaten WBC titless Chalker Stevenson and the consensus No. 1 contender William Zepeda from De La Hoya's Golden Bow Promotions. De La Hoya's comments emphasized just how important Ortiz's performance against Bohachuk was.
I love that fight. Tim Tszyu is in the mix as well. Big fights against Crawford. That's the reason why we love Turki coming into the sport of boxing that he loves.
Now, despite being knocked down twice, Ortiz showed immense grit and determination. The fight, which was broadcast live on DAZN, marked the first time in Ortiz's career that he went the distance, ending his streak of 21 straight knockouts. Ortiz's victory over Bohachuk not only added a major title to his resume, but also opened up a wealth of opportunities for the 26-year-old sensation as the new WBC interim super welterweight world champion. Ortiz is now in a position to choose his next opponent from a list of highly skilled fighters. These possible matchups have boxing fans buzzing with anticipation.
It feels up. I feel like I'm just kind of on the sideline at this point. People are getting mad at me for not fighting the best. Like, I'm not getting the opportunity.
And with this power now, Ortiz already had a couple of opponents in mind. According to Ortiz himself, one of the most intriguing choices for Ortiz is a fight against Terence Crawford after his hard-fought victory. Ortiz did not shy away from the idea of facing Crawford. In a post-fight interview with DAZN, Ortiz stated, "Let's do it, man. I'm ready for a task. I think Bud is probably pound for pound the best in the world, and I want to show that I have what it takes to beat him." Ortiz's confidence and willingness to take on one of the best in the sport speak volumes about his ambition and desire to solidify his place as a top fighter.
I'm the number 1 contender for the WBA. Once a boxer becomes a champion, they have to fight the number 1 guy. It becomes the mandatory. I'm the mandatory.
Crawford who boasts an impressive record of 41 wins and no losses with 31 knockouts, is fresh off a victory that won him the WBA Super Welterweight World title. As one of the most respected and skilled fighters in boxing today, Crawford has a target on his back, and Ortiz is eager to take the game. However, Crawford has made it clear that he is not short on choices either.
And no, I respect him as a fighter though. That's the thing. When I want to fight people, it doesn't mean that, oh, I don't like you. Like, let's get it on. It's more like I respect your skills and I want to see if I can beat you.
During an appearance on Sean Porter's The Porterway podcast, Crawford mentioned that if he had to choose between Sebastian Fundora Ortiz and Jermall Charlo as his next opponent at 154 pounds, he would prefer to face the question now, is whether a Lalshik's offer could entice Crawford to reconsider and step into the ring with Ortiz instead.
He's in his peak.
And you're saying you could beat a peak prime Terence Crawford?
I'm saying I believe that I can.
I respect it 100%.
I believe that I can.
The possible financial incentives combined with Ortiz's growing reputation might just be enough to sway Crawford's choice. Another compelling choice for Ortiz is a matchup against the winner of a potential fight between Sebastian Fonder and Errol Spence Jr. Fonder, who currently holds the WBC Super Welterweight World title, and Spence, a former unified welterweight champion, have been linked to a fight, although nothing official has been revealed. Ortiz, who mentioned both Fonder and Spence after his victory over Serhii Bohachek, is clearly interested in facing the winner of that fight.
Who are 5 fighters that you would like to fight coming up?
So we got Tim Tszyu, we got Crawford, Spence, or I guess you can say the winner of Spence or Fundora. Charlo's a good one.
Ortiz's interest in the Fundora-Spence winner is well-founded, as the interim WBC title holder at 154 pounds, Ortiz is in a prime situation to challenge for the full title. A fight against Fundora, in particular, would be an exciting clash of styles. Fonder, known for his lofty height and reach advantage, offers a unique challenge, but Ortiz has shown time and again that he is capable of overcoming adversity. If Spence were to emerge as the victor in a possible showdown with Fundora, a fight between Spence and Ortiz would be equally compelling. Spence's experience and skill set make him a formidable opponent, and a fight with Ortiz would likely be a thrilling, action-packed affair.
The fighter, I don't think of him, he's just, if he fights and he fights, it's whatever. But yeah.
Have you seen his fights? I would imagine you're familiar with.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of his fights. Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, what do I say? He's a good fighter.
Tim Tszyu is another name that has been mentioned as a possible opponent for Ortiz. The two fighters have entertained the idea of facing each other in the past, and Tszyu's interest has only grown after watching Ortiz's victory over Bohachek in an interview with Fight Hub TV. Tszyu expressed his willingness to step into the ring with Ortiz, saying that their fight could be yet another Fight of the Year candidate, much like Ortiz's recent battle with Bohachek.
Look, I said it was Fight of the Year, and it was Fight of the Year. I mean, come on, this was a war. It was a close fight. Vergil attacked.
A fight between Ortiz and Tszyu would surely capture the attention of boxing fans around the world. Both fighters possess explosive power and a relentless fighting style, making for an exciting and unexpected matchup. Tszyu, the son of legendary boxer Kostya Tszyu, has carved out his own path in the sport, and a win over Ortiz would further solidify his place as a top contender in the super welterweight class. For Ortiz, a win over Tszyu would not only add another important name to his record but also move him one step closer to unifying the titles in the division. As Ortiz reflects on his recent victory and considers his next move, he finds himself in an enviable situation. The options before him are numerous, and each potential opponent offers a unique set of challenges and rewards. Whether it's a high-profile showdown with Terence Crawford, a title unification match with the winner of Fonder Spence, or an explosive clash with Tim Tszyu, Ortiz has the chance to further cement his legacy and prove himself as one of the best fighters in the world. While his knockout streak may have come to an end, Ortiz has shown that he is more than just a power puncher. He has the ability to dig deep and find a way to win even when faced with hardship. However, the biggest fight we should now be expecting is him against Crawford.
Mention Ortiz, Vergil Ortiz. How far is he away? How close is he to a title shot in sharing the ring with Bud Crawford?
I don't know, but Vergil, he's right there. He's right there. He's been proven that he belongs with the top fighters in the division. And, you know, who knows? A couple of fights or next fight or whatever.
And this makes things interesting back at Ortiz's corner. And when we say interesting, we mean it because Robert Garcia, the trainer of Vergil Ortiz Jr., and the man that has brought the best from the fighters he has trained, is confident that his fighter would be too strong for Terence Crawford if they were to meet at 150 pounds. Garcia's belief stems from his long-time admiration of Crawford's skills, going back to when Crawford fought Mikey Garcia and Garcia's nephew. Despite this, Garcia holds firm that Ortiz Jr. has the strength to beat Crawford, saying, "I think Vergil is too strong for Terence Crawford. People can give me a hard time for what I'm saying, but Vergil is too strong."
I would love that, and you know, but I think we're just too strong. I think we're just too strong for Terence Crawford, and people could fucking give me a hard time about what I'm saying, but we're just strong.
Well, his record does speak.
The idea of Crawford moving up to 150 pounds excites Robert Garcia, who thinks Crawford the best fighter in the world, pound for pound. Garcia acknowledges Crawford's talent, adding that for him, ever since he was fighting for top rank, we knew the great talent that Terence Crawford had. He views a possible fight between Ortiz Jr. and Crawford as an honor, expressing his enthusiasm for the challenge.
He was fighting for top rank, and we grew up together since the amateurs, you know. We had a few fights against Mikey, one fight against Mikey, and another fight against my nephew. You know, we knew the talent that Terence Crawford had, and to become pound for pound the best fighter in the world, at least in my list, it would be an honor to share the ring with him, to share the ring with Bomac. Me and Bomac, we always go back and forth, you know, I beat you here, I beat you there.
However, there are real questions about whether Crawford, a bit older now, would even entertain a fight with Ortiz Jr. Crawford is nearing the end of his career and likely wants to win 2 or 3 big money fights before retiring. Facing Ortiz Jr. may not fit with Crawford's plans, especially if he's looking for more lucrative or legacy-defining matchups. Vergil Ortiz Jr. is a rising star, but his performance last Saturday night raised some worries. Ortiz Jr. showed a noticeable lack of hand speed, making him look slow in the ring. This lack of speed is hard to ignore, especially against a fighter like Crawford, who shines against slower opponents. Ortiz Jr. recalled many, including the writer of Alfredo Angulo, a fighter who was known for his strength but also his slow, plodding style. Ortiz Jr. looks to be a smaller, weaker version of Angulo, and that comparison doesn't bode well for his chances against Crawford.
Angulo was standing that initial onslaught, and here's the second onslaught. More right hands from Riggs, from the half-tight zone, clean right hand.
Ortiz Jr.'s slow hand and foot speed could be his downfall as he goes up to 150 pounds. If he continues to fight in the same way, plodding forward with his face exposed, he's likely to encounter significant problems. Faster opponents at 150 reveal these weaknesses, and Ortiz Jr. could end up following a similar path to Angulo, who started losing when he faced quicker, more skilled fighters. Robert Garcia may be optimistic, but the truth is that Ortiz Jr. will need to improve his speed and overall skill set to compete at the highest level. Garcia's plan for Ortiz Jr. is to prepare him for the top fighters at 150 pounds, like Jermall Charlo and Tin Chu, by matching him against solid contenders.
Get pushed for a title fight at the end of the year.
If you could have it your way, Robert, like if there was, like, let's say the third fight, would it be Terence Crawford, Jermall Charlo, Tizu? I always say his name wrong, sorry. Who would the goal be?
They're all great champions, they're all great fighters, but
Garcia has 3 fighters in mind for Ortiz Jr.'s next 3 fights. Erickson Lubin, Xander Zayas, and Brian Mendoza. These fighters would provide a good test for Ortiz Jr., especially considering his present weaknesses. However, it's questionable whether Ortiz Jr. can beat any of these 3 due to his slow speed. Each of these fighters has the potential to reveal Ortiz Jr.'s flaws, especially his tendency to move forward without adequate defense. Robert Garcia sees a bright future for Ortiz Jr. looking for a world title fight towards the end of 2024. We want to go for the title. Crawford's not a champion yet, so he has to come and pick up a title, said Garcia, adding that his first choice for Ortiz Jr. would be Jermall Charlo. However, the road to a world title will not be easy for Ortiz Jr., especially if he doesn't address his present shortcomings.
He should fight for the title, hopefully this year. You know, we're going to keep him busy, try to get 3 fights this year, and one of them could be for a world title.
Yeah, he actually said he's like...
Ortiz Jr. has been carefully matched throughout his career, similar to how Edgar Bernal was in his first 16 fights. His 20 knockouts have come against opponents who are not of the top caliber, and his most recent opponent, Frederick Lawson, was no exception. These types of opponents have helped Ortiz Jr. build an excellent record, but they haven't prepared him for the elite level of competition he's likely to face at 154 pounds. Robert Garcia admits that Ortiz Jr. wants 4 fights in 2024, but realistically, they're planning for 3, with the third being a world title fight. The idea of Ortiz Jr. fighting for a world title at the end of the year is ambitious, especially given the level of competition he'll need to face to get there.
Fight in total 4 times this year, and I was like, wow. Well, I mean, I get it. I mean, obviously he's been sitting on the bench for far too long, and now that he's ready to go, there's a lot waiting for him at 154.
The similarity between Ortiz Jr. and Alfredo Angulo is hard to ignore. Both fighters share a similar style defined by strength and a forward-moving approach, but also by a lack of speed and defensive awareness. Ortiz Jr. doesn't make major improvements. He could find himself in a similar situation to Angulo, struggling against faster, more skilled opponents. Robert Garcia's belief in Ortiz Jr.'s strength is admirable, but strength alone may not be enough to beat a fighter of Crawford's level. The slow hand and foot speed that Ortiz Jr. displayed last Saturday night are significant concerns, especially against a fighter like Crawford, who excels against slower opponents. And while Garcia is confident that Ortiz Jr. is too strong for Crawford, the reality is that Ortiz Jr. has a lot to prove before he can truly be considered a threat to someone like Crawford. Well, what's your thought?